I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you were able to spend some time with family and eat a lot of food. Before I preach, I just want to give God glory this morning. That's all I want to do. Because I am not nearly as prepared as I would like to be, but that's okay. Because He's going to take whatever shortcomings I have and turn it into His masterpiece. Sunday morning, as y'all know, I missed another Sunday at church, but we got a phone call at 8 a.m. Sunday morning, and Melissa's mom, who had been in the nursing home, had choked on breakfast. She was not supposed to be eating in her room, but they had fed her in her room. She chokes on her breakfast, and when the nurse come back in there, she was blue. So the nurse administered the Heimlich maneuver, and we went to the emergency room. They took her to the emergency room because she aspirated, so the eggs went inside of her lungs. So we get to the to the emergency room, and as you can imagine, Melissa is completely just distraught at this point. And we get there, and the secretary, the poor lady this is the secretary there, or whatever she is, and Melissa says, "Hey, I need to see Sandra Miles," and she picks up the phone and calls the back, and the woman says, "Well, if you'll just wait here, we're going to send the nurse out." Melissa is a nurse, so immediately she goes into the worst possible thing happening, because if you've ever watched a movie, they send the medical professionals out to tell you your loved ones have passed away or whatever. So Melissa immediately just falls to pieces, and I'm trying to reassure her that everything is going to be okay, knowing I have no idea. But I'm just reassuring her that God's in control. That's all we know. And we get back there, and she's fine. She's absolutely fine. But the nurse did tell us that when she got to the emergency room, her heart rate was down to a 30 beats per minute, and they had to give her some medicine to pick it back up. She spent 2 days in the hospital, and we brought her home on Tuesday night, I guess it was. Everything's rocking and rolling. Thankful for my kids who helped turn a disastrous room into a luxurious room in 48 hours. And Wednesday morning, I get a phone call that my best friend and my cousin had passed away. Thursday morning, Thanksgiving morning, my best friend and my cousin passed away, 44 years old. This will be the third year out of 9 years that we've buried somebody at Thanksgiving out of my family. But you know what? God's in control. Josh texted me and said, "Hey man, do you still feel like you want to preach?" I said, "Most definitely. Most definitely. Because I don't want this to be about me. But I want people to see that no matter what's going on, God's work has to be done. We have to keep getting up every morning and doing what God has called us to do, no matter what the circumstances are." And this morning, I had no idea. A couple weeks ago when Corey Jackson was here on a Wednesday night, I already had something totally different prepared to preach for this Sunday, and it was about forgiveness. Well, I asked Josh, could the youth sit in here on Wednesday night and listen to what Corey had to say, because I love hearing Corey preach. And he preached on Matthew 13, 18 through 23, and it's where Jesus is explaining the story of the seeds being sown and the different types of soil that they landed on. And Corey made a statement in that penetrated my heart. And God immediately said, "Hey, we're fixing to change your sermon for that Sunday." And Corey said, it's our job to share the gospel with people and let God work out the rest. We don't save people. He said, and it's super hard sometimes as a parent because we want to do everything for our kids and just pour the gospel into them, but we can't save them. And I said, man, because if you have kids in here, you know it's like you want them to be perfect. And you want God you just want to pour God into them. But we have no control over that, if they receive it or not. And that's what Corey was saying. We have no control if they receive it or not. And I said, man, I needed to hear that. So this morning, I'm going to talk about sharing the gospel. Simply sharing the gospel. Because, y'all, that is what we are commanded to do. Not we're encouraged to do it. Not we're asked to do it. We are commanded to do it. Jesus Christ himself, in Mark 16, verses 15 through 16, he says, and he said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. He didn't say to who you want to. Make sure we understand that this morning. He didn't say to the people that fit my church's whatever, the country club. Okay? He said to all creation. He who has believed and has been baptized shall be saved, but he who has disbelieved shall be condemned. He didn't say we're going to save people. He said go tell them about me. That's all he said. Go tell them about me. If they believe, they'll be saved. If they don't, they'll be condemned. That's all. That's it. That is literally our job as Christian believers, to go tell people the good news. Bad news, y'all have always heard bad news sells faster than good news, right? You don't believe me? Turn on the TV. You'll see 10 times more bad news than you do good news. But what's crazy to me, I've done a little bit of research, and I don't like doing research. But in 2013, New York Times wrote an article that said good news actually spreads faster than bad news. 2013, New York Times done some kind of survey and said good news spread faster than bad news in 2013. 5 years later, 2018, Science Magazine does a study, and it is showed on social media, y'all, it spread bad news and false news spread 6 times faster than good news. 6 times faster. That means if you're going to tell people about the good news, you got to do it 6 times more than somebody telling the bad news. You got to do it 6 times more for it to reach somebody than somebody out there telling them to go do whatever the world's telling them to do. You got to work 6 times harder. It is shown that bad news / false news is shared 70% more than good news. 70% more it is shared on social media than good news is. You want to ruin your day? Open social media. You want to start it off on a bad foot? Open social media. Man, imagine if, and I'm talking to me, y'all, because I live and breathe on social media. All right? That is my job. I do it continuously. Imagine if I woke up and picked up my Bible and read some good news. I'm talking to me, all right? I should have worn my boots this morning because I'm stepping on my toes. Y'all, it is what we're told to do by Christ himself, and we are supposed to model our life after Christ. And he literally says, go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creations. Man. But we, all right, I'm talking to me, we want to go out here and find 2 or 3 people that look like they may fit into our congregation well. That they may have their social class may fit in. It may benefit us monetarily if we can get them here. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not supposed to talk about money in the church. But it's real. We find somebody that can bring something to the table and invite them to church. What if we just brought people that didn't have nothing to bring to the table? Because you want to know who Jesus talked to? Those people. He didn't go out looking for the people that were going to benefit him. He took the gospel to the people that needed it the most, the lost people. Y'all, but why don't we do it? Why don't we share the gospel? Why don't we share good news? Because we're ashamed. We're scared of rejection. You want to find out how rejection, you want to get good at being rejected, become a recruiter. I promise you. Become a recruiter. You'll be so immune to rejection, like it's just like you don't even know what to do when somebody accepts. All right? But we're scared of rejection, y'all. It's a real thing. We're scared of rejection. We're scared somebody's going to tell us no. We're scared somebody's going to tell us, get that stuff away from me. Get that church stuff away from me. All you got to do is spread the seed. That's it. Spread the seed. Throw it out there. See what happens. You may be surprised. Somebody may be going through a spot in life that my family and I are going through right now and need to hear the good news. They may need to hear, hey, there's hope. There is a way to get through this. There is a way to keep going. Y'all, we didn't have Thanksgiving dinner at my house on Thursday. So Melissa said, hey, the Lakes got Thanksgiving today. Why don't you go up there and get us? That was a terrible idea. All right. Apparently 10,000 other people in Louisville didn't have Thanksgiving cooked either. Did anybody else go to the lake on Thursday? Man. So the buffet line, it went from the buffet down the wall, around the building, out the door, back to the door, and then down all the way to the cashier's thing. I said, man. But I got in there. Y'all, this is 2 hours after finding out my cousin had passed away. And I'm standing there just in complete shock. And a gentleman in front of me strikes up a conversation. He's from Stone County, Mississippi. They were passing through to go watch the Egg Bowl Friday. And we chit-chatted and we talked, and I got 3 to-go plates and I got them laid out. Just the nicest couple, man and woman. And the woman said, I got 3 plates trying to fill them up. And the woman said, do you need some help? I said, I got it. And God said, hey, why don't you tell them you appreciate them today? I said, I just want to tell y'all something. Thank you. Thank you for not being like the rest of the world. Thank you for having a conversation with me. They're from 2-3 hours from here. No idea who I am. I'm just some dude with some dirty blue jeans on and a dirty hoodie trying to get lunch. Probably looked homeless, honestly. Hadn't shaved in 4 days. All right? I said, I just want to tell y'all I appreciate you. I said, because you took my mind off of everything else that was going on in life right now. And the woman, the little lady behind me, she said, I tell them about my cousin passing away. She said, how are you holding it together right now? I said, God. That's it. She said, I like your faith. That's it. They weren't preaching the gospel to me. The couple wasn't preaching the gospel to me. I wasn't preaching it to them. There was love. That's it. They were talking. We were having a conversation. Young people, that's what you do when you don't have your phone in your hand. All right? You talk to people. We were talking, having physical conversation. And that right there is how we, as believers, reach into people's lives. Just showing a little bit of love, a little bit of kindness, a little bit of, hey, how are you doing? Now, in the South, we're all going to say we're fine. It's just what we do. But when that one person says, well, thank you for asking. Don't keep walking. Stop and listen. Stop and see what they have to say. So they may open up and pour everything out into you. Y'all, that is the gospel. That is what we do. That is it in a nutshell. There's so many pastors out there that try to recreate this thing. There's so many big, that are trying to get rich, trying to tell you something new. Y'all, this book has been around for over 2,000 years. The man who spoke the words into this thing walked the earth there ain't nothing new in here. It's pretty cut and dry. Love people, share the good news. Man, that's not hard, but we make it hard because we put ourselves in the way. We get embarrassed. We get ashamed. We get to worrying about whether the world's going to like us or not. It's real. It is a very real thing. We are so worried about the world, but do we really care? Because we're sending the world to hell. If we really cared, we'd be preaching the gospel to them. If we really cared, we would share the gospel with everybody we come in contact with. Y'all, that doesn't mean I have to walk around my Bible and hit people over the head with it. Just show them love. They wrong you? Cool. Show them love. I'm going to throw my forgiveness thing in there just because. All right? They wrong you? Big deal. They talk about you? Big deal. Who cares? Let God fool with that. Let Him worry about that. Our job is just to keep sharing the gospel. Somebody tells you no, cool. Go tell somebody else. Because in Matthew 10, y'all, I didn't tell y'all this one. I forgot about it. Matthew 10, verses 14 and 15. So this is where He's told the people to go out and tell the 12 were sent out and they were told to go and tell the city about the good news and stuff. And if anyone is willing, verse 14. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet. Y'all, He just says take your shoes off and dust off your feet and go on about your business. Because in verse 15 He says, truly I tell you, this is Jesus talking, it will be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than for that town. He's saying it's not your job to save them. It's your job to share the gospel and keep moving. That's it. Share the gospel, keep moving. They don't want it? Cool, keep going. You've done your job. And that, y'all, when Corey said that Wednesday night, I was like, man, because we will run ourselves ragged trying to save someone. But we don't save people. God does. We throw out seeds and keep moving. Because if I spend all my time on one person, I'm missing somebody else. And that's hard to do sometimes. It's hard as a parent. It's hard as an individual with friends because we want to pour so much into the people that we truly care about and truly love. We want to pour everything into them. But y'all, we're cheating the rest of the world. Because they don't all have somebody that loves them too. They don't. That's the reason crime is so high. Because they don't have people that love them. So if I'm spending all my time with this person, I'm missing out on 22 other people I can go talk to. In Acts chapter 5, verses 40 through 42, this is Paul. They called the apostles again. They beat them. Y'all, beat them. And told them not to speak anymore using the name of Jesus. Then they let them go free. All right, so they get beat. They said, hey, don't talk about this Jesus dude no more. And they sent them on their way. The apostles left the council meeting. They were happy because they were given the honor of suffering for Jesus. These dudes just got beat and they left with a smile on their face. The apostles did not stop teaching the people. They continued to tell the good news that Jesus the Messiah, they did every day in the temple area and in people's homes. They got beaten. They said, we're going to keep telling about Jesus. Let us have a flat tire. See how many people we tell. let us stub our toe in the morning. Let us step on a kid's toy. Let us just wake up on the wrong side of the bed. All we're going to tell is some bad news. These folks got beat. And all they did was kept telling about Jesus. And one little discomfort in 2024, we have all the comforts and amenities in the world. We can't tell anybody. I'm guilty. I'm not preaching to y'all, I'm preaching to me. Are we like Peter and Andrew? Jesus literally just told them, hey, put down your nets and follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. And they dropped their stuff and left. Or are we more like Jonah? I tend to be more like Jonah. God says, hey, I want you to do this. And I say, hey, see if you can find somebody else. I'm going to go over here. But you got a whole city of people waiting to hear the good news. I don't care. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go try to fit in with the world. I really don't want to do that. Those people aren't going to listen to me. That's the number one thing recruiters tell us, new recruiters tell us, is I don't want to go to that school because them people aren't going to listen to me. Have you talked to them yet? How you know somebody's not going to receive the gospel if you hadn't talked to them yet? You don't know where they're at. And sharing the gospel, I hate to use my job, but sharing the gospel is a lot like recruiting. Is when that person is right, you don't have to say much to them at all. And when that person needs Jesus, and they're in a spot where they need Jesus, you don't have to say much at all. And they're going to be willing and receptive to the gospel. And their life is going to change forever. They won't be condemned anymore. Yeah, their life's still going to be hard. They're still going to have trials. They're still going to have tribulations. But you know what? The Bible says consider that pure joy. Y'all, Matthew 10, 14 and 15. If anyone will not come to you, hold on. I'm sorry, I read that one. I didn't know I had it wrote down. I went back and rewrote it earlier while Terry and them were singing. Y'all, it's literally, our job as believers is just to share the gospel. Like, why are you saying that so many times? Because we're not doing it. Because we're not doing it. That's why. That's why we got more empty seats than we got full seats. Because we're not doing it. That's for me too. It's not y'all. It's me too. We're not doing it. Y'all, I want to challenge you this week to go and just share it with somebody. One person. That's it. I'm not asking you to go stand at Walmart on a Wednesday afternoon, the day before Thanksgiving, where there's 8,000 people in there, and stand on the register and scream out loud. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just asking you to one person that you work with, one person at the gas pumps, one person on social media. Share the good news. Because this is what happens. So the reference that Corey read was Matthew 13, 18 through 23. It says, so listen to the meaning of, and this is Jesus talking, explaining the story of the seeds, which is a couple verses before this. He says, so listen to the meaning of that story about the farmer. What about the seed that fell by the path? That is like the people who hear the teaching about God's kingdom but do not understand it. The evil one comes and takes away what was planted in their hearts. So this person was shared the gospel. The gospel was shared with this person. They didn't do anything with it. Farmer's job was done. His job was to spread it. Our job as believers is to spread the news. It wasn't received by person number one. Number two, what about the seed that fell on rocky ground? That is like the people who hear the teaching and quickly and gladly accept it, but they do not let the teaching go deep in their lives. They keep it only for a short time. As soon as trouble or persecution comes because of teaching they accepted, they give up. That's the person who received the word but done nothing with it. They sat in a church pew. They showed up on Sunday. They may come on Wednesday. But that's it. Because I can tell you, I've lived that life. And when trials and tribulations come, you start looking everywhere but where you're supposed to look. You start looking for things to soothe the pain, to soothe the hurt, and life gets real hard. But the person that shared the gospel with me done their job. They shared it, and Christ brought it to life. But at times, I was like this. I've been like number two. I've been like that person who've let life get in the way. Number three, what about the seed that fell among the thorny weeds? This is like the people who hear the teaching, but let worries about this life and love for money stop it from growing, so it does not produce a crop in their lives. They want it, but they can't let go of the world. That's real. That is a real problem I've had in the past too. I've had it. I've had the desire of money. I've had the desire of wealth. I've had the desire of having nice things. But people kept loving me and kept showing me the right way. Kept just showing up and saying, hey, they had to tell me the truth. Hey, man, you're not living right. And when somebody tells the truth, we got to be receptive. That's hard to do. Don't believe me? Tell somebody the truth today. Number 4. But what about the seed that fell on the good ground? That is like the people who hear the teaching and understand it. They grow and produce a good crop. Sometimes 100 times more, sometimes 60 times more, and sometimes 30 times more. Y'all, that's the people that are going out there telling the good news. That's it. You may tell 100 people that come to know Christ. You may tell 60. You may tell 30. It doesn't matter. Don't matter if it's one. One person. If it's one person, there's a party in heaven. That's it. The shepherd went and looked for one lost sheep and threw a party when he found it. Imagine what would happen if all 50 people in here went and shared the gospel with somebody this week. Just imagine. If only 5, that's 10%. If we only got a 10% return, that's 5 more people. Now you got 55. And they go out. Man, that's going to be like 6 people, like 5.5, but we're just going to round up because half a person's weird. But, y'all, that's, just think. Now we're at over 60. Just like that. It's exponential when we all get out there and work together. If you're sharing the gospel, congratulations. You're doing something 99% of us aren't doing. I said be real. I can look around and tell. Y'all, it just, when Corey said that the other day, It really stuck with me. Because I get so caught up in the who's getting saved, who's coming to church, who's getting baptized. Sometimes we get so caught up in that. We're missing the point that it's not our job. Our job is just to go share the gospel. And I needed that simple reminder that all I'm supposed to do is go out there and tell people. Maybe one person in here needed that reminder today. Take it with you and do something with it. That's all we're called to do. Let's stand. God, we just come to you today thankful for the opportunity we have to be here and to worship you. I'm thankful you haven't changed in over 2,000 years. I'm thankful I don't have to look for something new and miraculous or some kind of fancy words or some kind of fancy speeches or anything like that. You're the same yesterday, today, and forever. I pray that nothing was added to your word. Nothing was taken away from your word. But just your word penetrated hearts. I pray that we as body of believers will do what we've been called to do, and that's to share the gospel with people. And let's quit complicating this thing. Let's quit looking for the next best podcast to listen to, the next best sermon to listen to, the next best anything. All we got to do is share the gospel. Each person in here has a story. If they're saved, they have a story. Remind them of that story this morning. And give them the courage and the strength to go out there and tell somebody about it. If there's somebody here that does not know you, I pray today they will come and say, hey, I need to know this Jesus dude. Because I want to be a part of this. I don't want to be condemned. Because that's what he tells us. If we don't receive it, we will be condemned. Let us have that burden for people that we come in contact with. To look them in the eye and know, like if they're not saved, to know that there's a potential they could die and go to hell right then. God, my cousin was 44 years old and left this earth. But thankfully, I know he's a believer. So there's no reason for me to be sad. God, put it on our hearts to care for people. You talk to thousands of people and were turned away repeatedly. But we can't talk to one. God, wake us up. God, I pray that if somebody's here that needs to just lay some stuff on this altar, that we'll just come up here and just pray for people. We all know somebody in our life that needs prayer. We know lost people. Let us lift them up to you. Let us pray for the courage and the strength to talk to that person. Let us get real and quit playing games. Lord, I ask these things in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.